Good evening. Welcome to the Daily Craig Sports Show. A little late tonight. Usually we try to get talking maybe around lunchtime, maybe early afternoon, but the way the day worked out, here we are in the basement hanging out in front of all of our studious books and everything behind us. But hopefully you've had a great Wednesday. All kinds of stuff going on in the NFL. There's all kinds of cuts happening, all kinds of people getting picked up on the waiver wire. I don't know a lot of those people, I'll just be honest. I think I follow football really well, but you check that waiver wire, you check the people that'll cut, and you're like, oh yeah, remember that name, or no idea who they are. So there's a lot of NFL players out there. So hopefully your team has gotten better. Ours, our Indianapolis Colts here. Chris Ballard is currently talking to the media. Just reading a few of the tweets. My favorite thing I've seen so far is somebody asked him, you pay great players. You've said this before, and this is the mantra that this team goes by, is you pay great players. Chris Ballard's response was, we won 4 games last year. That's a pretty good diss. That's a pretty good diss to say, yeah, you're a great player, but we only won 4 games. And that's kind of what I was thinking too, along the mindset of what are we doing with this roster? They stunk last year. They won 4 games. There was a reason that they had the number 3 pick, or 4 pick, whatever they ended up, and then they traded, whatever. But Jonathan Taylor, as everybody knows, and we've beat it to death here, he is on the PUP list, so he can't play for 4 weeks. He's waiting, winning a big contract, and there's been all kinds of rumors out there that Miami was the team that everybody was talking to. Miami and the Colts, they were talking, they were deep, they were close. Rappaport's going everywhere saying, hey, we're ghosts, they're going to get it done, and Schefter's going, I think it's going to happen, everything points to this happening, and then nothing. And then there was always a magical hidden team, and nobody knew who it was until this morning it came out. It was the Green Bay Packers. So what do you do here if you're the Colts? What are you asking back? Apparently they asked for Waddle, the number 2 receiver from Miami. I don't know which of the running backs they asked for Green Bay. Nice if it was Aaron Jones, but I doubt if they asked for that. But at the end of the day, what I truly think happens, and I'm not the only one that thinks this, I think a lot of people did this. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor came to the Colts and said, this is what I'm worth. This is why I want to make this much money. And Chris Ballard said, we won 4 games last year. And you were hurt, and you're still hurt, so why should we do this? And then Jonathan Taylor said, this is what I want to get paid, this is why I deserve it. I was an MVP candidate 2 years ago. I was a great rookie contributor to this team, and you have a rookie quarterback and you need me. Well, what the Colts then said was, go find a trade partner. And I think that they truly deep down knew that this was going to be the result. They truly knew when Jonathan Taylor went and asked somebody to get a trade worked out, and when he went out there to find his value, he didn't get much response, really. It sounds like only 2 teams were moderately interested, and if you listen to what the Dolphins general manager said, nothing really got past the exploratory phase. So if there's 2 teams that are kind of interested but not really, that means your value isn't really high. And on top of him being a running back, which is the position here in the NFL that doesn't get paid, we all know that, he's hurt. He's not cleared to go practice. He claims that his ankle still hurts. He had a surgery in, I think it was January, that typically takes 4 to 6 to 8 weeks to recover from. And here we are in September, and he's not on the field. So he's going to miss upwards to 70 to 80 practices, I think somebody did the math, when he comes off the PUP list, when he gets ready to go for week 5. So there's a couple different situations that could happen here. Is he going to come off the PUP list and we're all going to hug and make up and everything's fine, and then he's going to go right back to the practice field and be our starting running back? No. Is he going to continue to try to practice and probably be magically hurt? Yeah, probably. He's not happy. The Colts aren't happy either. This is not going to end well for our Colts or for JT. He went out and found that his value isn't as high as he thought it was. It's not. If his value was that high, or if the Colts were offered something that they turned down because Jonathan Taylor thinks that he's being held hostage, that would have been pushed out there. Taylor's agent or the team would have said, well, we offered the Colts a first-round pick. We offered him Jalen Waddle. We offered him this and that. No, that was not offered. It was something low, probably 4th round or below, probably not even a player to return back to the Colts. And his value is super low right now. Think about it. Ezekiel Elliott signed with the Patriots after really kind of going back and forth, being hurt, but really a dominant running back. And on top of that, Delvin Cook, 1,000 yards, stud from Minnesota, helped Kirk Cousins so much, helped with that team, cut like that. wanted to save money, didn't want to pay him long term. See you later. And he sat for a while, and he ended up with the Jets. And I know that he had his pick of a few teams, but $8 million for Dalvin Cook to be kind of that final piece for a championship run, it's pretty solid. That's a pretty solid run by the team. $8 million to give somebody the workhorse a chance to come and prove himself. That's a huge contract for the team. Not huge money, but huge just in adding to the depth, adding to the roster, basically. So I don't know what Jonathan Taylor thinks he's going to get. I love him. I thought he was great. I thought he was awesome. But last year they won 4 games. And when they really needed him, he kind of disappeared. And yes, he's only as good as the offensive line. The offensive line stunk. The quarterback play was stunk. The receivers stunk. Nothing went right for the Colts last year. But a big thing that you want to put your hat on, as they keep saying, is run the damn ball. You can't run the damn ball if the running back keeps getting hurt or doesn't have that shifty move like he did. Is he asking for this money because he knows he'll never be the same? Is he asking this money to try to lead all the other running backs? What's funny is Saquon signed threatened with the franchise tag and signed his contract. Josh Jacobs is back. These running backs are getting forced to sign the franchise tag. They are. So if Jonathan Taylor magically comes back and is part of this team for another year, he's going to get franchise tagged. He knew it. He knows it. Maybe he's starting it a year early just so he can kind of fight this. But to be a running back in this league, you better be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, and you better be able to do something on special teams, and you better probably say, I would rather line up as a wideout or a slot than back behind the quarterback. You're going to make more money that way. So kind of is what it is. It sucks, but I would rather take a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick and put him back there and see what happens rather than pay somebody $8 to $9 to $10 million. Because as we can see, if somebody gets hit right on the knee, done for the year. If you have Deion Jackson, if you have a couple other of these rookie young running backs back there, you can have 3 or 4 people. So if somebody gets dinged up, needs to miss a play, a quarter, a week, a couple weeks, you have somebody back there that can take the load off. You're going to have to. So if I'm the Colts, I'm telling JT, go find something. There's your value. We won 4 games last year. That's probably my most favorite thing that Chris Ballard's ever said in my entire life. I'm not a big fan of his. I think the roster is awful. I think from start to finish, people played this game for the last couple months. How many of these Indianapolis Colts would you keep for next year? Who would you hold over? Grover Stewart? Yeah. I mean, who else? Pittman? AR5, obviously. But up front, we gave big contracts to Quentin Nelson and Kelly. They got huge contracts, and they were awful last year. Awful. Quentin Nelson looked terrible. He did not look like an all-pro. He did not look like he was ready to go lead the team, lead the line. And when that happens, everybody else looks crappy around it. Your high-level, high-paid guys have got to be badasses. They've got to go lead the team, and they've got to be the people that set the tone for everything. And that's just not what happens here. The high-paying players are kind of wilting. They're kind of falling apart. Shaquille Leonard, Darius Leonard, was awesome. Awesome. Since he's gotten that contract, nothing. Hurt, mental issues, hurt again. You can kind of see why the Colts are gun shy. It makes me so pissed off that they have all this money and they don't go spend it. All this money and all these free agents are out there and they don't go spend it. I kind of get it now. I kind of get it because the money you're giving people to, they don't perform. They don't do what you need to do. So it's really, really weird. It's really, really frustrating. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here with the Colts as we move forward. They got Isaiah McKenzie back. They've only got 4 receivers on the roster. I mean, a bunch of tight ends, but some of them are dinged up, and some of them have proven they can't catch the ball. We got some running backs, and you can go through them, and you'll be like, who the heck are these guys? But the whole offense, everything rolls around AR5. And I think, honestly, the goal of this year is to get him acclimated with the NFL and get Shane Steichen's offense included, installed and get it going, and see where this team can go. And you really, almost for the next, 17, 18, 19 weeks, you kind of have your clipboard, yes and no. And you just keep moving people back and forth. Yes, no, yes, no. If Quentin Nelson is not on that yes line, he's making too much money to keep. He's having too much money to roll over. You got to find a trade partner or cut it loose or something. So there's a lot going on in Colts world. Jonathan Taylor is the number one thing here, especially in Indy. That's what everybody's focused about. That's what everybody's worried about. All kinds of other stuff going on in the NFL. Kyler Murray's on the PUP list. It's not surprising. He's still trying to come back from being hurt. There's rumors out there that they're already done with him. They're trying to move on. Well, of course, he's going to make $1 trillion next year, and he's really, truly not that great. He's fine. He's a fine player, but is he worth $45 or $50 million? Heck, no way. So can you get that contract down to really, really small, maybe build it up with some incentives? Or, yeah, maybe it's time to move on. So the race for number one draft pick is directly going between Arizona and Indianapolis. And the Bears are over here, and they hope that Justin Fields can get better. But, like, you go through the divisions, who else is going to really be terrible? Washington? I'm a Sam Howell guy because I love North Carolina, but I think he's going to actually have a pretty decent year. That team is interesting. They got some weird talent on there, but they should be better. They're going to get killed in their division, but they should win some games. I don't think they're going to get the number one pick. Stay in the NFC and go up north. I mean, who's fourth there? The Bears, we already talked about them. Go out west, the Cardinals are going to be awful, but the Rams, I think everybody's getting healthy, and hopefully they're better. We had a story about Matt Stafford not getting along with the young people. That's really weird, but whatever. The Seahawks are good. The 49ers are good. Then you go down south. The Buccaneers kind of rebuilding. They could be in a battle for that first spot, but I don't think they're that terrible. They've still got some talent. New Orleans is going to be real interesting. Let's see how Derek Carr goes and spins it down there. The Panthers aren't going to be great, but they're not going to be first pick bad. And then the Falcons, they're going to be okay. Probably cover around 500. We'll see what happens there. Then you go AFC out east. Patriots are probably the last team in that division, right? But they're not going to finish bad enough to get the number one pick. Up north, Bengals are good. Steelers are good. Ravens are good. Browns are average. They're going to be okay, but they're not going to be terrible. South, Houston stinks. They've stunk for a long time, so maybe they're in the running for it. And they go out west. Denver probably will be better. Kansas City's awesome. The Chargers are awesome, borderline. And then you got the Raiders, which are kind of okay, but we'll see. So who are you really talking about? You're talking about Houston. You're talking about Indianapolis. You're talking about Washington. You're talking about Arizona. There's the race for number one is going to be really, really interesting because right now the only two teams that really suck are the Colts and the Cardinals. So we'll see what happens with those two as we leave the station here. So no NFL this week. Actually, no NFL until next week, which is cool. So we have some time. This weekend is all college football. My Hoosiers are 90,000-point underdogs against Ohio State. My Tar Heels are actually favorites against South Carolina. That'll be fun. I think that's a Saturday night game. But that gets kicking off this weekend. Also, the Reds won this afternoon, which is great. CES and Canarsion Strand had a great day. I think he went 4 for 4, a couple doubles and a homer. Fantastic effort by them. Diaz came down and shut the door. They're at that borderline weird situation where it's, okay, we're starting to slip. We're not going to win the division, but can we hold tight in the wild card race? And they can. They're holding tight. They're right there. The Cubs keep winning. The Brewers are starting to pull away. So my Reds are hanging in. The Cubs are coming to town this weekend, so we'll see how they do. But then other than that, the other thing is the Reds are so young. Everybody on their team is so young. They've never played this much baseball before. So they're really at that edge where they're kind of starting to struggle, where they're starting to get really tired. Their sea legs are really getting away from them. And the pitching, even with Diaz, it's a little bit more experienced. The pitching that he has right now at the end of August compared to what he had in May and June is night and day. So how do you get these guys to kind of get to the finish line? How do you get that last kind of breath of strength and fresh air? And how do you get them to finish this season strong? Because it'd be so impactful and be so powerful to this team if they somehow get to the playoffs. They're fighting the the Diamondbacks, the Cubs, the Marlins, the Giants. There's a lot going on there. They got the Cubs coming to town, so they can hopefully make a statement and lay the hammer down, but we'll see. Cubs have been playing really well. So anyway, that's it for us. It's a beautiful Wednesday evening. We're going to go call it a show. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is the Daily Craig Sports Show. About once a day, I like to get on here for 10 or 15 minutes and kind of talk it out a little bit. I really am. I admire all those guys that have the 3-hour shows, the Dan Patricks and the Rich Eisens and the Pat McAfees and those, because I'd love to do that. If we could do that, if we could set this up and talk for 3 hours, but nobody wants to see this ugly mug or listen to this voice that long. So we'll figure out if we can get somebody else to co-host or do anything like that. But right now, I'm going to try to do this every single day, whether it be in the morning, afternoon, evening. Tomorrow, got something in the morning, something at lunch. This is probably going to be a little bit later, probably tomorrow as well. So we'll see if there's any news or anything opening, but make sure you check out all another thing real quick. It's really interesting because of all of our local sports guys here in Indianapolis go on all these radio shows and say, oh, I have this news and I can't break it, or I have this information, I can't share it, or I think this, or I'm finding out this, or I don't know. And then 10 minutes later, a national guy breaks the story. Like this morning, somebody said they knew who the second trade partner was, but they couldn't announce it. 10 minutes later, Schefter from ESPN said, oh, it's the Green Bay Packers. Well, why are our local guys not getting fed that information? It really pisses me off that these national guys are getting it, but the local guys aren't. It's kind of frustrating and weird, but anyway. So, all right, thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Have a great Wednesday evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. See you guys.